All right, guys, so y'all saw my practice, but late today, gosh, somewhere probably, well, it was 2:30.
Yeah, it's late, pretty much real late in the day that when the tournament would be over at 3, you know, you're sitting there still fishing until 5.
So we could fish till 5. I suddenly get a text message from Hawkins, and it's just one about that long with a bait inside of its face. It's this picture right here. And then a couple minutes later, I guess I called you.
Yeah.
So tell the guys what happened.
Well, I saw these fish up in a real shallow schooling, and I thought they may have been stripers or something, because I'd been catching some stripers deeper and a little bit deeper on spoons and stuff like that. And I mean, no black bass to speak of, you know, and caught a few sand bass on square bills and stuff like that. And then I saw those fish, they were almost in the dirt. And
literally, how deep was this water?
Shoot, probably 8 inches or so, I would guess. You know, maybe just a hair deeper, but it looked real shallow because the water's clear.
And what were you seeing?
I was seeing clouds. Well, I was seeing them like school, you know, Russian bait fish up in the shallows, you know. And of course, I was thinking maybe some small stripers up there.
And by the way, this is not like deep water, shallow water. This is shallow water for a long way.
Yeah, it's pretty.
All right, so I wanted to give you guys a sense of what I'm saying when I say this. So this is a Navionics shot of one of the spots that we're fishing. And what you'll see here is, so the red pin is on the bank and the purple pin is on the 5-foot line. And you'll see that is 0.2 nautical miles, so 2/10 of a mile to go from the bank to 5 foot deep. That's how shallow. You're really going to see it in the next video when we show you us catching these fish the first day of the tournament. We are super shallow and throwing even shallower. So basically in a couple of instances, getting the boat as shallow as we can get it and making as long a cast as you can make even shallower. So I thought that would give you a really good sense of what exactly we were fishing.
Yeah, it's pretty much flat. So it looked like they had been working to get the bait that shallow, and then when you really got on it, you would see clouds of bait moving, and you might think there was a stump or, you know, a root system or something like that, but then you start seeing them move, so you know it's a cloud of bait, and then you get real close and you can see them, you know, they're 3 or 4 inches, you know, big. So anyway, then I threw this wake bait out there, big old swim bait looking thing, and you can run real shallow, and I mean, this sucker murdered it, and he had about probably 3 or 4 buddies the same size, and these were 4-pounders. And you know,
in this much water. Yeah,
I get the one fish in, and you know, of course I see the other ones with him, and I don't throw again there because, you know, we got a tournament coming up tomorrow. So right. So I started looking for the same type of water, and you know, start looking at, you know, the same type of water and everything, and then I caught a 3-pounder, and he had at least 2 buddies with him, and
so they're just up there wolf packing.
Yeah. And then I moved to another spot, and I caught it. You know, I saw the dark spot, and I throw over there, start running that thing through it, and all of a sudden they just erupt on it, and it was about a 2.5-pounder and had some other, you know, 2.5-pounders with it. And then I, you know, moved from there, and I kept moving trying to find that same type of water. It wasn't the same location or anything, but went to another spot, and, you know, the end of the day, it was getting close to 5, so I was in the same type of water, but I never saw the fish or never saw the dark spot. I just, you know, made a longer cast. Anyway, caught, you know, another 2-pounder, I guess. But my guess is that fish probably had, you know, some friends with him. So hopefully tomorrow, I mean, this is a late in the day deal, so who knows if they're going to do it tomorrow, midday or whatever. But I mean,
they're not going far. Yeah,
sunny high skies like that. It's not like cloud cover had them there. Nothing like that. They're
up there doing exactly what them Texoma fish do. They're up there pushing them shad around.
Yeah. So
it's crazy. So I ran in there late today. Sorry about that. I ran in there late in the day after Terry caught those fish and pulled in there just to see what he was fishing, and I had about an hour fishing. It's a spot I never would have guessed there'd been fishing there, but when you see them chasing, it's like, okay, duh. So
well,
we got the starting spot. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
I was just saying I had nothing else. I mean,
Right,
I bombed doing everything. I
Yeah,
caught some
we got the
stripers
starting
and
spots, all we had.
Yeah, had a starting spot, but
I'll reference this, and I didn't talk about it. We'll talk about it more on the first day of the tournament. But my buddy Chad had given me a spot that he said might be a really good starting spot. Not a lot of big fish on it, but you usually can catch a few fish off of it. So the first day of practice, it's down on the south end. It's down near the dam. I sent Terry down there, and he pulled up on it and got, I think, 3 bites off of it. And one of them was actually a decent fish. But you'll see that's where we're going to start on the first day of the tournament, and that's what we're talking about when we say that reference spot. Yeah, I did not catch much in practice, but I had sent him to a spot that Chad had given us where there were some bites. So we had a little bit of hope that we were going to be able to start out pretty well, and actually we do, as you'll see on the next video.
But you're just, I mean, when you see something on the dirt like a sign of life, you have to go check it out.
Absolutely.
And so, and I would have bet money it would have been,
Well, you called me. You're like, I'm seeing these fish.
Yeah.
And I said, my comment was, the only time I've ever seen stripers get that shallow was at PK one time. I mean, now they'll do it around rocks, but on just flats like that, usually that ain't the case. And I didn't say this to you, but I had something in the back of my head. John Hope tracked a 4-poundish smallmouth here. If you guys remember, John Hope's the guy who put trackers in fish that Alton Jones caught. And we always think of big smallmouth or any kind of smallmouth being around rocks. And John tracked that fish for a couple of years. And what he said was, number one, he said that fish would travel more than a mile in a day. He said it was very, very pelagic. But he said the place he most often found that fish was on a 3-foot deep mud bank. And when you were talking about that, that story of John's came to mind. I'm like, okay, those might not be stripers up there.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys, another cutaway here. I've talked about, or I've referenced John Hope and his work in tracking fish several times over the last several years. We actually did a couple of videos talking specifically about this, and of course the Todd Driscoll videos. If you don't know Todd, I'll put a link to the video right there. Todd is the biologist who did the tracking study at Toledo Bend last year. And, John was the first guy to do this, gosh, many years ago. I'm going to say in the 80s it had to be. But I did want to show you guys, this is that book, and it is a spectacular read if you can find this book somewhere. So if anybody knows where you can get a copy of John's book, please post it in the comments below or shoot me an email, or probably post it in the comments is the best, and I'll pin it so it'll be the top comment if somebody does that. The last time I knew of John, he owned a game ranch somewhere down around San Antonio, I believe, and his book was still available through his wife on Facebook. So that would be the first place I would look, would be to look on Facebook. But again, if anybody knows how to track down a copy of this book, it's a real quick read. But it's fascinating because, again, what we know about fish is what other guys have written about and the fish that we catch. And John was able to track fish when they're not feeding, and in bad weather and in good weather and in wind and in everything, and see how these fish reacted, including, as I recall, and I don't think it's in the book, but one smallmouth, maybe it is in the book, that he tracked for a pretty good period of time as well. So that's the book, John Hope's Tracking Trophies. If you find a really old version, I believe it was called The Lost Bass. He retitled it after it had been out for a couple of years. But either Tracking Trophies or The Lost Bass, and I promise you it's worth about a 2 or 3 hour read.
I would have bet they were stripers, but then you had to go check it out, and luckily I got a bite.
Yeah. So.
And I didn't get a bite while they were schooling. I got a bite kind of around where they were schooling, because you've been there, you see these things surface, you get over there and nothing happens.
Right.
So, but luckily I got a bite, so that kind of kept rolling with that. But.
So we're boat 7. We can almost see our starting spot, so we'll be able to tell, because somebody'd really have to do a hard U-turn where we're taking off from.
Yeah.
So if nobody goes there, we're going to go in Terry's boat. We're going to turn and go right to that spot first. We'll fish it for 5 minutes or an hour according to what we get bit, and then we're going to go chase these shallow fish all day and see if we
Yeah.
can figure out if they're not there. There's a little bit of wood in the area we might be able to catch them off of. And I mean, like you said, you probably saw 18, 20 pounds of fish today, this afternoon.
Yeah, it's kind of, after being almost suicidal, you know, you see something like that, it kind of gives you, for sure a direction the next day and hope. So
I have not had much hope. So
yeah.
All right, guys, so that's it. I suspect we'll have posted the tournament before this, but maybe not. We'll do it one way or the other. So hopefully we're victorious, or at least cashing checks or something.
Yeah, it's respectable.
Something respectable.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see y'all Thursday or next Tuesday, whichever one. I can't remember if this video is going to come out Tuesday or Thursday, but we'll see y'all soon.